Chiefs news, analysis, and opinion every day. The Kansas City Chiefs just played in the Super Bowl, and now while I thought that they won, the NFL says otherwise. But a consequence of that appearance is that they had the penultimate pick in each round of the draft. 31 out of 32 picks. That was the lot for the Kansas City Chiefs. So it would be very surprising if the Kansas City Chiefs had one of the top 10 most instant impact rated rookies coming into the season. After all, they didn't pick until 31, which actually became 32 because they traded down. But that is just the case according to CBS. In an article titled Ranking the NFL's Top 10 Instant Impact Rookies for 2025, Travis Hunter, James Pierce Jr., highlight on list running back number 1. Subtitled, Which Players Taken in the 2025 Draft Are Bound to Hit the Ground Running This Year, from CBS Sports by Chris Trapasso. And I'm going to, you see the name on the screen there, obviously, but there's a couple things surprising about this. List of 10 players, only 3 of whom were non-first rounders, only 2 of whom were picked after the second round. And when you focus in that Ashton Gillotte is often cited as the biggest reach of the Kansas City Chiefs draft, it is very surprising that he is on this list. And we're going to end the video by talking about 2 other players on the list that are going to mean that Ashton Gillotte needs to have a big impact as a rookie. The article goes on to say this. Number 8, Ashton Gillotte, edge, Kansas City Chiefs. Gillotte is simply one of those defensive linemen that produces. He's not a freakazoid athlete. He doesn't have outstanding measurables. He just learned how to defeat blocks efficiently while getting upfield or bending the corner in college, and that nuance is rarely seen in trench prospects. At Louisville, Gillotte pieced together back-to-back seasons with more than 55 quarterback pressures on 363 and 373 pass rushing opportunities, respectively. At a hair under 6'3" and 264 pounds with shorter arms, he demonstrates a unique blend of speed to power conversion and occasional flash of bendiness. And he plays with a pedal to the floor on every snap. Kansas City needed a secondary outside rusher beyond George Karlaftis, especially given the lack of development for Felix Anudike-Uzomah. Gillotte won't be earning Defensive Rookie of the Year consideration in his debut campaign. He'll be a steady producer from the jump as a rotational piece who can hold up against the run and flash as a pass rusher without much attention on him in 2025. These things are all true of Gillotte. He does not have the measurables. He is not an outstanding athlete, but he does have his pedal to the floor on 100% of the snaps that he plays. While this might not prove for instant success in the NFL, I think it has to be noted that he doesn't have to have huge sack numbers to have an instant impact. No, the Kansas City Chiefs don't necessarily have to have a guy who's going to come in and get 13 sacks. What they need is a guy who's going to come in and make the quarterback get rid of the ball. They need a guy who's going to come in and push that quarterback up into the pocket where Chris Jones will be waiting for him with open arms. I have a video, I think I'm going to be able to make it tomorrow, about the Chiefs' defensive impact. Earlier today, I dropped a video about the offensive impact report for the Kansas City Chiefs 2025 NFL Draft. Tomorrow, I will have one for the defense. Now, for the offense, the mission for the offensive side of the ball in the NFL Draft and even in the UDFA category was very, very clear. Explosiveness for the offense. Get speed, get explosive, and get into the end zone. For the defense, I think there was a similar calling, a very clear mission for the defensive side of the ball, and that was, make the quarterback's life hard. Ashton Gillotte may not ever be a 15 sack year guy, might not ever be a 13 or 12 sack year guy. I think he can be a 10 sack per year guy, and if he is even, we go back up to this number because I don't have it off the top of my head, a 55 pressure quarterback guy, then this defense is going to be markedly better. Now, George Karlaftis the Chiefs just picked up George Karlaftis' fifth-year option as he was a first-round pick. George Karlaftis has been their only guy at the edge position to really affect the quarterback. Mike Dana has been a good player at edge. Felix Enudike-Uzama has never come on. Charles Omenihu has rarely been available for the Kansas City Chiefs. So it is necessary that Ashton Gillotte live up to the potential he has to just wreak havoc for the offense. Now, those other two players that I said we were going to talk about here, these two players also made the list. R.J. Harvey, a running back for the Broncos, and obviously Ashton Jeanty, the running back for the Raiders. The Chiefs had tried for many seasons now to find themselves a big run-stuffing tackle. Didn't work. Hasn't worked. They tried the draft. They tried UDFA. They tried free agency. They've tried all of it in order to get themselves a 330-pound run stuffer. Hasn't worked. It appears maybe they've given up on that, as the defensive tackle that they chose was Omar Norman Lott, a guy who's not the most solid against the run, but like Gillotte, offers a lot at getting to the passer. So, taking the emphasis off of run-stuffing defensive tackles and leaving that to the linebackers, and to be fair, the Kansas City Chiefs do have the linebackers to get that done, means that perhaps the defensive ends are going to be counted on as well. Now, George Karlaftis is a superior run defender. I think Gillotte, while he might not be the biggest defensive end, while he might not have the most length of any defensive end, has the effort necessary. Harvey and Jeanty will make a difference for the Broncos and the Raiders, and that's 4 games per season that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be lining up against the likes of Harvey and Jeanty. And my comp for Jeanty is Priest Holmes. So I don't think that Jeanty is going to be able to get it done on his own. I think that Jeanty will have to have blocking in the NFL. I don't think he's a guy who's going to come in and in Marshawn Lynch fashion, the way that he was able to do in college, in Barry Sanders type fashion, the way that he was able to do in college, break every tackle in the world. But I do think if he gets past that first level, if defensive lines are not able to get to him, if defensive lines are not able to touch Ashton Jeanty, like Priest Holmes, he's going to be an absolute nightmare in the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs are counting on the likes of Jeanty to be able to disrupt run blocking lanes as well as get to the quarterback. There's no doubt in my mind that Jeanty has the juice. The questions out on Jeanty are, does he have the length to consistently get this done? Does he have the measurables to outmaneuver offensive tackles in the NFL? That is yet to be seen, but not by the textbook, right? If you're looking at this prospect on the page, Ashton Jeanty, you would not say, oh yeah, that's the 66th pick. That's the first or second guy to go in the third round. And he was. And that's why a lot of people think that he was a reach where he was drafted. I kind of tend to agree, but what we do know is that the Kansas City Chiefs were emphasizing getting after the quarterback. What we don't know is if on the Chiefs draft board, Ashton Gillotte was the last name that they thought could make that disruption. If he was, then yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a reach, but you got the get to the quarterback box checked in this draft. If that was the case, right? And it might have been. He might have, look at the defensive ends that went, look at the edge players that went. There were a lot of them. This was a decently deep draft, but a lot of those guys went. It was kind of the opposite of the wide receiver draft, because while the wide receiver draft was a deep draft, players slipped. I think there was 2 wide receivers taken in the first round, right? 2 or 3. I think it was 2, just top of my head. So many wide receivers have come out the past couple of seasons that a lot of these teams were probably looking at who it was that they had on their roster, and they thought, yeah, well, we've got decent wide receivers. If we can't get to the quarterback, that's going to ruin the entire game for us right off the bat. If we don't have the quarterback that can elevate the wide receivers that he has, the way that Patrick Mahomes has done the past few seasons, if we don't have that quarterback, it's not going to do us all that great to win the games anyway. So get the edge player nailed down, and if you lose all those games again, you can get the wide receiver next year, because wide receiver is interesting, the evolution that the NFL and college football and high school football have gone under, because a lot more of these guys who would have been put on the defensive side of the ball in the 90s, cornerbacks, they stay on the offensive side. A lot of these guys who would have in previous years been running backs, well, now go to wide receiver. If you are that talented and you think you have a shot at the NFL, play wide receiver, because you're an NFL running back, you're not making any money, you're not going in the draft, right? So part of that is the talent level at wide receiver in the NFL has shot through the roof. So I think that the edge position is still every bit as valuable as ever it was, because and those guys don't grow on trees, right? If you can run a 4.2 40, someone's going to give you a job at wide receiver in the NFL. If, however, you are 6'4", 265 pounds, but you can't play football, it's a lot more obvious on the field, and you give up points. So anyway, guys, very interesting to me that the 66th pick in the NFL draft is named in this article as one of the top 10 instant impact rookies. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.